Technology is reshaping our lives. It dramatically changed the way we live, the way we learn, the way we work, and the way we communicate. Technology has tremendous potential to connect us with one another. But there are still people who remain unreached, disconnected, and deprived of digital opportunities. Tech4ED centers serve as hubs that enable skills training and job opportunities.
We have more than 4,000 registered users, and about 67% are women, and majority composed of students as our beneficiaries. And why women? Because we are gender responsive, so all our programs are aligned with the gender and development program of our province.
Natutunan ko yung ibang skills na dapat sa ibang schools na dapat per years dapat maano mo lang dito ng mabilisan ng mga months, mga 3 months, makakuha mo lang agad tapos maka-work agad.
This program helped me by finding a job and of course gaining more confidence as well. I was able to gain knowledge about the BPOs, on how does the environment work and how am I going to interact with my future customers.
As of now, as I was the call center agent, so I see that difference because as of now I'm earning more than I have earned before as a tricycle driver.
Magandang araw! Welcome to NOLITC's Gender and Development Webinar Series entitled Life Stages and Trauma, this September 20th, 2021, streaming live over YouTube and Facebook. We are immensely happy that you took time off your busy schedules to join us today. My name is Red, and I will be your host for this afternoon. In 2020, NOLITC made a milestone when PhilSecNet awarded the center the Pandemic Resilience Award. We are also recognized nationally as Outstanding Tech4ED Center by the Department of Information and Communications Technology. Just last month, NOLITC was recognized by TESDA as Star Awardee in all its registered programs, namely 2-Star Award in Contact Center Services NC2 program and 2-Star Award in Visual Graphic Design NC3 program, and 1-Star Award in our 2D Animation NC3 program. The star rating system recognizes the accomplishments, innovations, and improvements that the TVIs have instituted beyond the minimum requirements set by TESDA. The Learning Center is one of the priority programs of Governor Eugenio Sebong Lacson under his 7-point priority agenda, Avance Negrense. NOLITC also offers various scholarships for free online training, TESDA-certified courses, assessment programs, and other special programs through our Negros Occidental Training for Work scholarship program with support of the Provincial Gender and Development Focal Point System. The GAD Webinars is another pioneering project of NOLITC Tech4ED Center that aims to provide relevant ICT-enabled services and content to unserved and underserved communities. We are joined by our participants from different parts of the country. So let me take this time to greet or read some of your greetings that you have posted in our comment section. Good afternoon, Sir Marvin. We also have here a greeting from Miss Jane Abarrientos Olmedo. Okay, and greetings from the School of the Future San Carlos City Division. We will be reading more of your greetings, so please do drop your comments and your greetings. We would love to read them. Let us start with a prayer to be followed by the singing of the Philippine National Anthem and the Negros hymn.
O labing makagagahom nga amay namon sa langit, Mahinuklugon nga laon, nga tagtugas ang langit, hangin, kalayo, tubig kag duta. Tanda ining imong timawa, kabay ining pag-ampo, magadulot sa amon sang kabuhi nga himaya. Salamat sa mga bugay nga imo ginpaambit sa amon. Salamat sa kabuhi nga ginadulot mo sa amon nga himpit. Salamat sa maayo nga panahon kag ilabi na gid sang imo katutom sa amon. Bendisyone ang imo katawhan. Bendisyone ang ila mga palangabuhian. Bendisyone ang mga panggas sa amon mga talamnan. Bendisyone ang ilang nga paglugayawan sa iban nga kapungsuran. Kabay makalabot sila nga walay sablag sa ila pagapadulungan. Kag ilabi na gid, bendisyone ining isla sang Negros nga amon natawhan. Kinahalad namon ang ining pag-ampo para sa imo kadayawan.
Kayang magiliw kay sa silanganan, alam ng puso sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang inirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupig, di ka pasisihil. Sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong buhaw, may hilag ang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kisap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagdinigdig. Ang bituin at araw niyang kailan pa may magdidilim. Lupa ng araw na walhagit pansinta, buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Ang hinigaya na pag may mga akit, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo. Sa kita ang pamilya, pag-uligay, pag-igay, pag-ibog, madapat mag-ari sa ating na probinsya. Magotod na Negrosano, isa katawungan, mapinalang tao, sa buong natangguhan na usap ng piso, sa kauswagan, sa sikat tao. Sa kasahan, agad wala may mapiling sa kalulong, nananagos na nagais sa ako. Ang matutot na sakripisyo sa kauswagan ng sikna tao. Matuod-tuod na Negros sa anon, isa katao na mabigalang taon. Sa punadang ko ang dati sakripisyo, pagbulikan, paghigain, paghigugmag, dapat maghari. Para sa kauswagan ng sikna tao.
Greetings to our participants from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, and to other parts of the world. Thank you for joining us today. Send a link to your peers, colleagues, and friends. Drop your comments and make this 2-hour session interactive. Before we begin, let me read and greet you, those who have sent their comments or their special greetings in the comment section. Keep on commenting because we will read them all throughout or during the duration of our virtual event. So good afternoon again and greetings to Sir Marvin, Ma'am Jane Abarrientos Olmido. Okay. Good afternoon to Ma'am Maria Elma po. Greetings from School of the Future, San Carlos Division. Hello there, ma'am. Good afternoon to Ma'am Anin Havid. Good day. And to Ishini, good afternoon po. Good afternoon as well. Hello, good afternoon. Watching from School of the Future, School Division's Office of San Carlos, to Ma'am Velias Cooley. Hello there. We also have here a greeting from Ma'am Ikay Espinosa. Good afternoon. Watching from Gigalaman Elementary School. I hope that I read that correctly. Hello there, and good afternoon to D. Marie Jimenez de la Victoria. Good afternoon, watching from Pudcod Elementary School, Schools Division of San Carlos City, Negros Occidental. Hello there. Ma'am Vilma Oliveros Chongson, School of the Future, Schools Division Office of San Carlos. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Hello there as well to Ma'am Vilma Oliveros Chongson from School of the Future, San Carlos City. Hello, ma'am. And good afternoon to Sir Greg Bancolo. Hello, sir. You are always our supportive audience. Hello there. Also, another supportive virtual audience here, Sir Nelson Magdayaw. Good afternoon from San Carlos City. Ma'am Monyan Abeto Ponting watching from Ermita Elementary School, Schools Division of San Carlos. Ma'am Sherilyn Pavilario, who is watching us through our YouTube platform. Hello there, ma'am. Ma'am Miduri Ann Librando. Good afternoon from Pudcod Elementary School, Schools Division Office of San Carlos. Hello there, ma'am. And hello, guys. This is a greeting or message from Rian Blythe Anex Sikert. Hello as well. Hi to Ma'am Tess Valle Cahigas from School of the Future, Schools Division of San Carlos. Another virtual audience from our YouTube platform, Ma'am Grace Pacres. Hi there, ma'am. And we have here, okay, we have a lot of greetings. We also have Ma'am Luz Vivinda Tamse Cabale, okay, who is watching us from School of the Future. Ma'am Jachel Tigas Aligado, thank you for joining us. Ma'am Pavilario de Oro Sherlyn from Paglaon Village Elementary School from Bacolod. Ma'am Rian Blythe, okay, hello there as well. Ma'am Jaliz Moore, good afternoon from Pudcod Elementary School. Ma'am Carla Sandoval Braquil, School of the Future. Ma'am Ruby Rose, good afternoon, watching from Pudcod Elementary School. And Sir Xavier Jan Verdun, who is joining us through our YouTube channel. Hello there, sir. Ma'am Riza Hilado from Cabangcalan City. Hello, ma'am. Okay, Sir Xavier Verdun, good afternoon. Ma'am Jovelyn Limpio from Pudcod Elementary School. Okay, and Ma'am Merlina de la Paz, Tandang Sora Elementary School. Hello there, ma'am. Thank you for joining us. MBRC DAS. Okay, we have from Cabangcalan, okay, Central Philippine State University, Cabangcalan. Okay, so we have Ma'am Raj Salimbot, Sir Johnny Engada, Ma'am Aisha Alinor, and Van Van, who is watching us from Schools Division Office of San Carlos City. Again, our warm appreciation to all of our virtual audience who are joining us this afternoon. This year's NOLITC Gender and Development Talks is a continuation of the webinar series which we have started last year. This is our urgent and most accessible response to the ongoing global health crisis through providing relevant services and content to underserved and unserved communities. These webinars are absolutely free. That's right. To join, all you need to do is to register once and you will be given access to the entire GAD webinars. Let me remind you to also fill out the online attendance right now. The link to the online attendance form is pinned in the description bar section. To participate in the open forum, you will need to post your questions through our online open forum form. Please find the link as well in the description bar. I hope that you are all doing your attendance right now. We will not be able to catch up with all of your comments. So if you have any questions, please post them in the open forum form link. Again, the link to the open forum can be found in the description box below. The moderator will bring them up towards the end of the presentation. You will also be receiving a digital certificate for attending this webinar online. You only need to accomplish the online evaluation of the webinar and fill out the attendance form. I hope you're all catching up with me with some of our opening reminders. If you have not seen our previous posts yet, you can always check out our social media accounts, follow us on Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you very much. To kickstart today's webinar, allow me to introduce to you our moderator for this learning session, who will also be introducing our speaker. Each one of us is the sum total of every moment that we have ever experienced with all of the people we've ever known. Our moderator for this afternoon has a very sensible character, can easily make those around her feel that they matter. She consistently strives for excellent quality, makes sure that everything that is assigned for her is done, and has an amiable qualities that you can think of. That's right. Currently, our moderator is the acting school registrar and holds the position as the project development officer of NOLITC. Aside from work, she considers parenting as her most important job. She's a dedicated mother to Zanelle and Shane. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming to our virtual stage our moderator for this afternoon, Miss Sally Carman Trio.
Thank you so much, Ms. Red, for the kind words. I am quite excited for our topic today, life stages and trauma. Because this pandemic, whether you were contacted by the virus or knew someone who was positive or even died because of COVID-19, somehow led you to a traumatic situation. The question now is, how can you recover? Or where can you ask for help to get out in your current situation? Our topic for today is indeed very relevant. I know you are all excited. So here are the learning objectives for this topic. By the end of this presentation, you would be able to identify the 8 stages of human development, their main characteristics and psychological tasks. Second, to explain the meaning and types of trauma, signs and symptoms, and their effects on a person's mind, personality, and development process. Third is to describe some effective and practical ways of handling and healing the negative effects of these experiences. And last but not the least is to participate in simple processes of turning trauma into a more adaptable learning experience as you continue in your normal stages of development. Sounds interesting, right? So sounds very interesting. But before that, let me introduce to you our speaker for today. Our speaker is better known as Becky to her friends, or Miss Becky among her students, clients, and colleagues. She is a registered psychologist, a registered guidance counselor, and a certified specialist in assessment and counseling, or counseling psychology, based in Bacolod City. So for the past 32 years, she has been conducting, facilitating seminars, workshops, and trainings on various topics. At present, she is a consultant psychologist at the Wellness Clinic of Dr. Pablo Autori Memorial Hospital, while serving as a psychologist to the Holy Family Home Bacolod Foundation, a protection and rehabilitation center for survivor of child abuse. So Miss Becky is married with 4 children and 2 grandchildren. Let us all welcome in our virtual stage, Mom Rebecca V. Lanes. Hi,
Hello,
Mom.
good afternoon. Yes, Sally.
Good
Hello,
afternoon.
everybody. Yes,
It's really nice to have you back. How are you?
again. Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm still here at home doing fine, keeping safe like everybody else should do also.
Yes, that's nice
Okay.
to hear, Ma'am Beck. So
Yeah.
without further ado, I know our online participants are also very excited to hear from you. You will now take our virtual floor.
Salamat, Sally. So, good afternoon to everyone who took the time to attend this very relevant and interesting webinar, Life Stages and Trauma. Actually, while I was preparing for this, I kind of smiled to myself because these two topics really are heavy. No, so I would admire you if you will be able to have the patience and the perseverance to finish this seminar. Let's go to the topic without further delay. So we have been given the 4 learning objectives already. No, so let me start with the first objective, which is to be able for you to identify the 8 stages of human development. Okay? And this is from birth to death. This is a lifespan approach in understanding life stages. So we are going to look at the main characteristics of each stage and the important psychological tasks. We took this topic in school for 1 whole semester. Okay, part of our introduction to psychology, and then later on in the masteral level, and even in the developmental psychology in the doctorate level. So now I'm going to talk to you about this for probably just less than an hour. The life stages. So I tried my best to condense this so that it would come out as interesting and not boring. Okay, so the 8 stages of human development is the concept of a psychologist, Dr. Erik Erikson, a German-American developmental psychologist and psychoanalyst. In psychology, there are so many theories of human behavior and development. And we have the cognitive, we have the psychosexual, we have the moral, and the spiritual development. But for our purposes, I will focus only on the psychosocial development, meaning to say how we develop and how we grow as we go along, as we grow up, as we grow old, in terms of our behaviors and interpersonal experiences. So the first stage, okay, is this very, very cute stage. We call this infancy. So I don't know if you could put on the chat box how many of you have an infant in your family now. So that would be from birth to 1 year old. Okay, that is the cutest stage. So in terms of characteristics, let's take a look at the main characteristic or behavior of an infant. First of all, an infant, aside from the fact that it's really very cute, it's so lovable, it's so charming and all, basically the infant is helpless. Okay? It is totally dependent on its parents, especially the mother. So the presence and the quality of caregiving of the mother is very important in this first year of life. So what is the psychological task? A baby needs to learn trust and needs to be able to feel secure because nga it cannot answer or satisfy its own needs. If it is hungry, if it is wet, if it is cold, or if it is hot, somebody else has to do that has to satisfy those needs for the baby. So totally helpless. Okay. And so each stage also has its own strength. And the basic strength of an infant is hope. At birth, there is already hope in the infant because it waits, to be satisfied. It expects that when it is hungry, it will be fed. When it is wet, it will be changed. If it is cold, then it will be given warm clothing. And if it is hot, then it has to be aired out, maybe an electric fan or brought out the outside or given lighter clothing. Okay, so the adult, the mother especially, has to be very sensitive to the needs of the infant. Otherwise, it will keep crying and crying because that's the only way that the infant can communicate its need. And so it expects, it hopes for its needs to be given, to be satisfied. So if the baby doesn't have this, the baby is going to grow up mistrusting the world. That is why below that picture it says trust versus mistrust. That is the crisis of the infant. We call Erickson calls that psychological crisis or the issue of an infant, to develop trust or to develop mistrust. Okay, next please. The next stage, or stage 2, is another cute stage, early childhood or toddlerhood. So how many of you have a 1 to 3-year-old child here? My own grandchild, the second one, is now 1 year and a half year old. So she is in this stage. So she does a lot of things. Okay, she doesn't want to just lie down on the bed, okay, or be held by her mother all day long. She wants to run around, walk around, toddle around, So the child, not a baby anymore, all right? Not a baby anymore. The child learns to walk, okay, and slowly run, okay, toddle. So the psychological task to be learned here, either autonomy or doubt. And how does that happen? Let's take a look at the characteristics. Okay. All right. So at this age, the child is now able to exercise some degree of choice, freedom, and independence. And you will notice it plays a lot. And so toys and early childhood books are very important. Picture books, They may not be able to read the alphabets or the words yet, but they can already identify the pictures, the images. So just like my granddaughter, she can already identify sun, moon, apple, car, things like that. Okay, so language development starts here. Well, actually, even in the early stage, no. So they start identifying things, mumble things, no. So this is the stage of independence and autonomy. And the favorite word of the child at this age is the word no. Okay. Ako lang. Okay. He doesn't say ako. He says his name. Like, for example, dua lang. Dua. Something like that. Okay. So, maybe she would say, Bibi, you know. Okay. So, the baby talk. Okay. So, they may not, they're just starting their language development. So, their language is very, very basic. No? So instead of saying me, I, they would say their name. Okay. So the basic strength of the toddler is will. Okay, will, the choice, the decision. Okay, so if it doesn't want to continue drinking milk from the bottle, it will throw away the bottle. Okay, or push away the mom if it's still breastfeeding. So the child exercises its will. And so that is why we call autonomy. So sometimes we say this is the terrible two age because they do not follow anymore. They just want to do what they want because they are exercising their autonomy. And so if the parents, who are the most significant people at this stage now, keep on, let's say, punishing or saying no also, you cannot do that, okay, the child will learn self-doubt. In his mind, he might say, oh, why can't I do this? There must be something wrong. Okay, so doubt. Okay, so whereas if the child is allowed to do that because it is natural, it is part of its growth and development, then he will learn more and more independence. Okay, so it's important to allow the child at this age to do certain things within its capacity, as well as within safety limit. Okay, so we have to be very careful about electric outlets, things like that, sharp objects, breakable things in the house. Okay, you have to put them out of reach of the child so that they would not be endangered as well. You have to make your home, your house, baby safe. All right. Next, please. Okay, stage 3. This is the preschool age. Okay, so this is the locomotor as well as the genital stage between 4 to 5 years old. Okay, so the child becomes very active here, and the child would be starting to be aware of its organs, okay, basic sexual organs. So you might wonder, Mama, what is this? Okay, so that is healthy and normal. So just like how we teach them, this is the nose, your eyes, your ears, they also have to know those parts of their body. So they become curious, okay? And that is not to be punished. There is nothing wrong about that. Sometimes they would ask, where did I come from? Okay, so that is an opportunity also for them to learn, okay? And for them to know that there is nothing dirty about their body, their sexual identity, okay? So we have to understand that. And so the psychological task here is initiative versus guilt. Okay, so we take a look at the characteristics so that we would understand this psychological crisis or tasks. The child at this age, this is the preschool, takes initiative to explore his social and physical world, including his body. Okay, knowing more, being aware more of his body. Okay, so the child is very active, and this is the time where it's important that the child develops positive attitude about personal accomplishment. So praise, compliments, encouragement is very important here. Okay, so the basic strength is purpose. Because when you initiate something, when you begin to do something, okay, you have a purpose in mind why you are doing it. And so, again, if this is discouraged or punished by the family, okay, then the child would feel, oh, I did something wrong. So the child would feel the opposite, would develop the opposite, which is guilt. Okay, so again, this is a very active time for exploration and taking the initiative. So they would start playing games that they make up or draw their own figures, okay, or make up a story, make up, tell each other very imaginative and very creative stories. I remember when I was at this age, I could remember already that I was cutting up uh, fabrics, playing with my dolls, and dressing them up. Okay, and then my siblings and I would come up with toy furnitures made out of empty matchboxes. So we would make sofas, chairs, tables, things like that. And we would be so creative because our mother allowed us to do that. And she would provide us even with the materials, no? Her scrap fabrics from her dressmaking work. Okay, so this is very important. So this is the time when both parents and child can engage in playing chess. They can already understand the concept, board games and all of that. So even during this time of pandemic, as much as possible, do not allow your children, young children, to stay on their gadgets, on the cell phones, tabs, tablets, what else? TV, okay? They have to there should be time where you need to switch them off and encourage them to do other stuff so that they would have this kind of creativity and purpose. So the most important and significant people at this time are the family members as well as their playmates. Okay, so they begin to play with their neighbors, children of their neighbors, their classmates in the preschool. Okay, next, please. Okay, stage 4. This is the school age or latency stage. Now, at this time, the child is now in the elementary, 6 to 11 years old, and their mind, okay, is busy. They are also busy doing things, playing, studying, developing new skills, creating new games, things like that. So this is the stage of industry versus inferiority. So this is the best time to teach them basic housework. Involve them. Do not turn them into señorita and señorito. because they need to learn those important life skills. And they're very interested in doing that. They would say, Ma, let me help you in the washing of dishes, you know. Or what are you doing, Pa? And then the father might say, oh, I am fixing our chair. Oh, and then they would be very, very curious, no? So this is the, yung in Ilonggo, mapisan, no? Stage, no? So you can allow them, no? And encourage them and teach them to do simple houseworks. Okay. Right. So otherwise, they're going to develop inferiority because they grow up not knowing anything. All right. Because they have not been encouraged or they had not been taught or trained to do those things. Okay. Next, please. So characteristic, cognitive abilities are developed in this young children to enable in task completion such as school, work, and play. They develop self-confidence. They develop self-reliance. Okay? And their basic strength is competence because that's their nature. Okay? They can do certain things already at their level. So help them develop competence. They could learn to wash the rice or cook rice. They could help out in doing laundry or washing their own underwear. Okay? For me, that is one of the things that I really taught my children, that they should wash their own underwear because it's very personal. Okay? So up to now, they continue to do that, of course. So one of the life skills that I taught them. So the most significant people at this time now are not the parents anymore. Okay. So it is now the school teachers, people in school, especially the teachers, their classmates, their friends, and the neighborhood. They would like to go out. Okay, so they prefer to play outside rather than at home. So this is the time also to teach them balance or discipline. That they have to do certain things, their chores, no, we call that chores in the house before they can play. They have to finish their homework first before they can play or turn on the TV or turn on their tablets or be able to use their cell phones for games. So we have to train them, to teach them. All right. So otherwise, if they don't know these things, they would grow up not feeling competent. And so they would feel inferior. So this is very important. Next stage, please. Stage 5 is the adolescence. Yan. This is a very difficult, an exciting and interesting stage also between 12 to 18 years old, a teenager. So the important psychological task or important psychological crisis is identity versus role confusion. So Erickson is credited for the terminology identity crisis. Who am I? That's the basic question of the teenager. So what's the characteristics? What are the characteristics? Important for them is to build a positive self-image and a strong sense of identity of who they are, what makes them unique, what are their talents, what are their capacities. Why? So that they would be able to face the next stage, which is adulthood, with certainty and confidence. And the basic strength that they will develop or they have at this stage is fidelity. What is fidelity? Fidelity is remaining true to who you are. You know yourself. So no matter what other people would say, you know who you are. Now, the important people at this stage, if you notice, the parents are not in the list. No? We take second, we take what you call that, second role in this stage, and we have to accept that because that is how the natural process of development goes. You have to be a very understanding, very patient parent for your teenagers. That is why it's important that you are here so that you will know the stages of development. You could understand your children, you could understand yourself, you could understand your spouse, your in-laws, your co-workers, if you know and understand the stages. So the peers, role models, even pop idols like BTS, okay? In our time, our idols were the Beatles, okay? So we learned all their songs. And I remember my two older brothers, they had their hair, they had Beatles hair also, no? The Herman's Hermits, okay, the Bee Gees. Okay. So those singers are from during our own time. So if you guys, the young ones now, if you have the BTS and all the other pop idols of your age, we also had our own before. So it is normal. Everybody goes through that. So, all right. So in this stage, this is chaotic. Why? Because the adolescent child is naturally rebellious. Why are they rebellious? Because they have to know their own path. They have to discover who they really are. And it's not enough that it's really not advisable that they should be forced to take up a course that you as parent wanted for yourself, but you were not able to follow it or to choose it, to pursue it. And so you force your child to take up whatever course you had missed. Okay? So that's why it's very important as a parent, as teachers, we have to be very observant of our children. What is their natural gift? Allow that to come out. Give them materials to use. Do not avoid criticizing or humiliating them for their gifts. Avoid comparisons. Do not compare. Why? Because each child is unique. Even their personalities are different. Even from childbirth, from infancy, they already have their own personalities. Okay? I have 4 children, 3 girls and 1 boy. And our my eldest daughter, when she was young, she was very lively, very talkative. She talks all the time. She sings all the time. Okay, and she made up her own song at a young age, just out of nowhere. Now the second one, she was a different. She had a different personality. She was quiet, and she worked quietly alone. Her older sister would go out and play outside, but she would stay inside, and then just make kuti, something like that. Work with her hands about anything, and then later on when she learned to hold a pencil and a crayon, she was already drawing whatever figure, but using the crayons to play with the colors. Okay, now who is better? Is one better than the other? Okay? No, not at all. They are unique. They have their own personality. And so I just enjoyed watching them and seeing them develop in their own path and respecting their gifts and talents. Okay, so that is why they come out, no, children who are supported, encouraged. You have to discover their talent, help them discover their talents, and help them to develop it so that they can use it later on. Their talents become their strengths, and so they move on to their adulthood being sure of who they are, what they want, what they really want. Next, please. All right, so this is now the supposed to be the mature stage, the independent stage. This is the young adulthood from 19 to 40 years old. Now, you might say, Miss Becky, my son is already 24 or 25 years old. He doesn't act like an adult. He acts like a child. Okay? And I would ask, how come? Oh, since he was a child, he just played, and I did everything for him. And I said, that is the answer, because he failed to develop self-reliance. The other thing also is our culture. In the Filipino family, our children are still dependent on us even when they reach 19, 20. Not really dependent, but we allow them to live with us. So their mama is still there, papa is still there. When they come home, their food is cooked, their laundry is done. So that is part of our culture. Remember that this theory of stages of development was made by an American. And in the Western culture, by the time you are 18 or 19, you are out of the house already. But here in the Philippines, that is not our culture. We are a close-knit family, and then we tolerate our older children to stay with us, and that is okay for us. So we cannot say the other one is better, or we are not good, things like that. So we can still develop self-reliance and independence in our children, even if they still stay with us. How can we do that? Well, because they have jobs, they should contribute to the upkeep of the household. Why? Because they are also living here. It's their house too. So that they would learn budgeting, they would learn responsibility, and things like that. So what's the characteristic? In order to build intimacy and not isolation, then the young adult must develop or perform productively at work and be able to establish intimate relationships. So the three important or common activities that we see in young adult, they engage, they get married, they get engaged, they get married, they find a job, they pursue their chosen career. And so the basic strength here is love. Okay? Love in many different forms. Of course, there is romantic love, there is charitable love, there is filial love for parents and for family members. Okay, so there is also what we call platonic love. So intimacy is not necessarily physical intimacy with a lover. It may be with a best friend, a soulmate, and there is no malice, put into that. But intimacy means a meaningful and deep relationship a meaningful friendship. So that is the nature of the young adult. So the important and significant people at this stage are friends, lovers or spouses, of course, their own family now because they already have their own children. Of course, their workmates and connections, people that they know in other types of work, people that they meet in the course of their own life. So they should be allowed to have their own life already. And we as parents should step back and loosen our control already to them because they are mature. They can make decisions already. Though now you might say that I love my child and I don't want him or her to get hurt. Of course, that's normal and natural. But then, not to overprotect them or over-shelter them because that is not love anymore. That is not, I mean, that is love, but it is not true love. No? That is already selfish love. And it means to say you are communicating mistrust or distrust in your child. It's important for children, just like us when we were growing up, that we have our own freedom, we have our own privacy, we have a part of our life that we don't have to tell everything to our parents because that is our private life as well. No, okay, because we want to have our own what you call that there are certain boundaries, no. So it involves respect, trust and respect. And if they want to talk to us, if they want to share something with us because they need help, they need guidance, they need our wisdom, then that's the time that we can come in. Okay? So as parents, we also need to know our roles. And so we have to understand their growth and development so that we would know also how to behave. No? And we can also feel, we would actually feel secure if we know that our children know how to make decisions and allow them to make mistakes, because they will learn from it. And learning from experiences and mistake, actually, that's the best way to learn. Okay, not just because my mother or my father or my aunt, told me so, but because it's based on my own experience. So later on in the older stage, you would really the person would really develop wisdom because based on experience. Okay, so oftentimes the scarred person has a lot of learnings as well. So the important and significant people here are friends. I think I have mentioned this already. So we develop the young adult develops intimacy, a close relationship with someone. It may be of his own sex or the opposite sex. No. Now you might say, what about priests and single people? Well, whatever is the state of the person's life, it may be married, single, or religious. Okay, the person can still have intimate relationship, not physical. No, it may not be physical, but like I said, emotional, spiritual intimacy, meaning to say a sharing, deep sharing of secrets, insights, emotions, thoughts. You know that you are being listened to. No, you can feel secure and accepted, no matter how crazy your thoughts are by the other person. So that is intimacy. Otherwise, the opposite will be developed. Social isolation. disconnection. And when a crisis happens, the isolated person feels very alone because that person does not have close friends, no one to be intimate with, because he had lived in a shell, or a cave, uh, uh, not not literally, okay, something like that. Next, please. Stage 7. All right, midlife, adulthood, midlife stage. Stage 7. This is the 40 to 60-year-old person. So the psychological task to be resolved, or the crisis to be resolved, is generativity versus stagnation. If you take a look at the pictures there, you would have an idea what middle adulthood mean. So let's take a look at the characteristics. So a 40 to 60-year-old person, generally, not everybody, generally, becomes actively involved in teaching the next generation, or guiding or training the next generation. This is the stage where, if the person doesn't get involved in this, stagnation comes in, meaning the person does not seek outlets for generativity. Generativity meaning to say care and concern for the next generation, no? Generativity. So care and concern for the next generation. Why? Well, at this age, especially between 50 to 60, you have developed a lot of knowledge and skills already in living and working. And you feel now that it's not enough that you just keep those to yourself, but you're interested to pass it on and to train others. Why? Because you would move on to old age, and somebody has to take your place. Others have to know. Your children have to know how to live alone, because eventually we will all pass away. All right? Okay. We are not, our life has a limit. We are not immortals. Okay? So that we have to accept that. So we're interested in the success of the younger generation as well. So we teach them what we had known. Okay? Well, if they accept that, well and good. If not, they will learn their own way. And then if they will ask for your advice, guidelines, guidance, you can right away give it to them. So the important people here now for you, no, are your children and the community. So the question at this stage is, what can I offer succeeding generations? I remember when I retired, no, from my work at the University of St. LaSalle. Before I retired, I gave talks to my fellow counselors, and I shared to them the things that I have learned, the techniques, the methods that I have learned, which were not in our textbooks. Okay. And I could remember their feedback. They're very, very appreciative because I taught them those things and I guided them. No? So that is the teaching and the guiding for the next generation. And so when I retired, I know that they will be able to continue. So even my own children, I would tell them, you do this and you do that. You should know how to save. You should know how to budget. You should know how to bargain. Even that, no. When you shop, you have to know the quality of what you are buying, so that transferring of skills, technology to the younger generation. And so it's like leaving a legacy to them. Okay. Next, please. And so this is the last stage, the old age. I am in this stage now. I am 66. Okay. So this is the final stage before the next transition to another kind of life. So our bodies, okay, start also to weaken. Our vision, our hearing, our bones and joints, the aches and pains. Okay? So that's why for the younger ones, you have to know how to prepare for your old age. Save your money, because I tell you, the aches and pains are real, and so you have to have enough pension to be able to buy your medications, even if you have the senior citizen discount. So you really have to take care of your body. Okay, eat moderately, drink moderately, get enough sleep, because this is gonna come. Okay, so the psychological, no, okay, in terms of psychological aspect, the task or the crisis of the old age is ego integrity versus despair. So why is this so? Let's take a look at the characteristics. Now, so the old person now evaluates his or her own entire life, looks back, no, with satisfaction if his goals had been accomplished, if he's satisfied about what he had done, okay, if he had fulfilled, if he has sense of fulfillment in what he is doing, if he had raised up his children in the proper way, okay, if he had been a responsible parent, a responsible worker, a responsible spouse, okay. Otherwise, the opposite of integrity is going to be despair. So the person would look back and review his life with feelings of anger and frustration instead of satisfaction. Okay. So the basic strength here is wisdom. I had mentioned that earlier. Wisdom is not exactly the same as knowledge. Wisdom is knowledge plus insight. Okay. Knowledge plus insight. So your own learnings from your experiences, from the books you have read, from the people you have encountered. The question here is, have I found contentment and satisfaction in my life's work and play? No? Play meaning to say how you spend your free time for recreation, pleasurable things, okay, hobbies, things like that. And so the important people here now is not just your family, your spouse. Maybe your spouse have moved ahead, so you are left alone, you are left behind. So you find meaning in the community, in the society, and your concerns about the world now. Okay. Although, of course, there are many people right now who are also very concerned about the society and the world. And that's good. Okay. And so at this stage, we prepare for our graduation. No? I learned that death, no, is a birth into heaven. And so I have done away with my fear of death because of that realization that it is a birth into heaven. Okay. Other very old people who have been sick for a long time, you would sometimes hear them say, "Oh, I want to rest already. I look forward already to my death. I'm ready." So that is the 8 stages of the human development, normal and natural. So there is change, no? There is movement. Okay, so we have to understand and know that. Okay, so now let's go to the next part. This is another heavy subject, but I will try to make it interesting and light to everybody. And so the next one is about, okay, here is a summary of the 8 stages. So you can see the physical changes in the body as well as the behaviors, the emotions, capacities, the psychological tasks. Okay? So from crib to the grave, normal human development. So we go to the next important topic, and I will relate these two later on together. So understanding trauma. Okay. You have probably heard this word a lot before, and probably even more so now these days. What is trauma? Next slide, please. So let us define trauma. According to the National Child Traumatic Stress Network in the United States, trauma is an event or series of events, not just one event. It can also be a series of events that involve fear or threat. So this is an unpleasant experience that happens to, I would say, everybody. Nobody is exempted from this. Why? Because it's part of life. All right. So furthermore, there are, next slide please. In understanding trauma, after knowing its definition, we need to understand also that there are 3 main types of trauma. The first one is acute trauma. This results from a single incident. Okay, I'll give an example. Way back in 1997, I volunteered to process a group of young people who were involved in a truck accident. I think one of them died during that time, and a few had really serious injuries. And when I was told about what happened and about the effects after that, I saw that, this is traumatic for them. And so I volunteered to process them in their trauma. That was just a single incident. And most of them, got scared already. They don't want to ride a jeepney anymore. Some had nightmares, etc. And because they lost a friend in that incident, they went through grief as well. So they have to be processed. Otherwise, the memory, they would have more serious symptoms. So that is a single incident. I'll give some examples of incidents and events that can be traumatic. Another type of trauma is chronic trauma. Chronic trauma is not just a single incident, but it is repeated and prolonged, such as domestic violence or abuse, child abuse, spouse abuse, lover abuse, also combat. No? So day in, day out, it's repeated. So that is what we call chronic trauma. Uh, uh, like a certain period, a long period of uh, the experience being repeated again and again. That's chronic. Next, the third type of trauma is called complex trauma. This is exposure to varied, not just the same incident, but varied and multiple traumatic events, often in an invasive and interpersonal nature. So, example, I once had a client, when she was in college, she was sexually abused by a group of friends during a party, and she didn't tell anyone, so she kept it because she felt guilty about why did she go with those people. Then later on, she got sick, and she was operated on in her, I think it was her uterus. Okay, and the operation went well. However, when she was in the recuperating stage, the doctor said that it seemed the healing inside was not so well for her body. And so they opened her up again, okay? Because she was feeling some kind of pain. So they opened her up again. And that second operation for her was traumatic. Not the first one, but the second one was traumatic. Okay, so those are two kinds. Okay, and then much later on, okay, um, um, because of that experience, she could not bear. She could not bear any more children. So she and her husband tried to adopt somebody, a child, and it didn't work so well. They spent a lot of money, things like that, and her heart was already, she was looking forward to it, and at the very last minute, the arrangement fell through. So it did not work out. So that was again traumatic for her. So that was complex trauma. So when I met her, she was, having tremors, panic attacks, and she would not go to the hospital even if she was not feeling well, because just the thought and the smell and the sight of the hospital sent her into anxiety attack. So that's complex trauma. Exposure to varied and multiple traumatic events, often in an invasive, so her body was operated on. Interpersonal nature also, the sexual abuse, the maybe the third trauma, most probably there was scamming involved there. Okay, so it was all very painful for her. And so later on during the our conversation, she revealed about her original trauma, which was the sexual abuse. And she said maybe that influenced also the reaction inside my body, why I got sick in my uterus, okay, in her sexual reproductive system. Okay, so she went through, I think, 12 sessions, and later on she got well enough to function to be happier. She got rid of her anxiety attacks. I referred her also for medication. So both counseling and medication helped her. All right, so those are the 3 types of trauma and some of their examples. Next, please. All right, so when do we say that an event caused trauma? Because the same event may not be traumatic for another person, whereas it was traumatic for someone. Okay, so traumatization occurs when the person feels the following: unable to cope with the external threat. Second, helpless by the overwhelming force. Third, powerless. Fourth, terrorized. Not just afraid and scared, but terrorized. There is terror. There is feeling scared that you might die. No? Right. So here are some examples of trauma. Number 1 is common. When you, a traumatic event, sorry for the typo. Traumatic event can include experiencing and or witnessing. Even if you were not the direct victim, but you were a witness to the incident, it can also be traumatic. For example, 1 is physical abuse. Second, sexual abuse or sexual assault, such as the example that I have given. Domestic violence or community violence. Emotional abuse. Neglect, whether emotional or physical or both. Parental mental health issues. For example, in the family, the mother or the father has chronic depression. A member of the family committed suicide. Institutionalized parents, no, because of the mental health issue. Incarcerated parents. So there is, separation, and of course, seeing and knowing that one's own parents had been accused and proven guilty, so they were incarcerated. Addictions and substance abuse. Next. Some more natural disasters like earthquake. I remember in 2012, we responded to that big earthquake that happened in Negros Oriental. And because of that, whole community were subjected also to landslide. So we went out there to do debriefing for the community. Of course, flood, no? Every year, flood is nothing new anymore to the Philippines. Of course, we have volcanic eruptions because the Philippines is in the ring of fire in the Pacific. Okay, my own personal trauma was the eruption of Mount Pinatubo. Okay, the volcano in Zambales, and during that time, my husband and I were working in Bataan in the refugee camp. It was in 1991. And the first 3 of our children were already born during that time. So they were still very young. Our eldest was, I think, 5 years old. And then the next one was, our eldest was 6. The next one was 4. And the next one was 3 years old. So they were very close in age. So that was really scary for me. And I remember I had nightmares about stones, large rocks flying towards our house, aflame, and I would wake up startled. So I had trauma from that. Many of us, all of us, I think, during that time in the camp, almost all of us were traumatized by the Mount Pinatubo. Tsunami, in Southeast Asia, several years ago. Sudden and violent death of a loved one. What comes to my mind is the shooting incident somewhere in Luzon when a policeman shoot to death a mother and her son in front of many people. That's a violent death, no? So the family for sure were traumatized with that. I think the whole country was traumatized by that incident in some ways, no? Next, witnessing a war and genocide. So what comes to my mind are the EJK killings that we have been subjected to since 2016. That's a reality. And no matter what kind of rationalization anyone would offer for that, okay, that is traumatic for the direct as well as the families that had been victimized. And of course, now we have the pandemic. Okay, it's a sickness. COVID-19 is a sickness. You might say, why would we be traumatized? Well, you can just hear the news, even, just very recently, just today, I heard of news of people who had lost someone or a number of their friends from COVID. That is traumatic. Others who had survived COVID-19. This is really a concern. As they say, COVID-19 is a pandemic, and the next pandemic is mental health because of the effects psychologically to all of us. And not just us here in the Philippines, but all over the world. And so our group, the mental health practitioners, are have been challenged by this. Of course, we have been responding to this, and we are expecting more. So we have to strengthen ourselves. That's why we have these kinds of webinars to inform everybody. So because when we are educated about this, we would first understand, we would be aware, and then we would know what could we do to lessen the effects, because it's happening. It's been happening already since last year. Imagine, it's almost 2 years already. No, where's this September now? COVID was discovered in December, and then we were put on lockdown last March. Okay, imagine that. I never thought that I would live experiencing this. So what causes trauma? Studies have shown that adverse childhood experiences are vastly more common than acknowledged, and that most of these exposures occur with the child's caregiving system. So we go back to the childhood stage of development, even from infancy to childhood. Okay, so a lot of children experience what we call adverse childhood experiences, or ACE for short. And this can be chronic, this can be complex accumulated stress. And the statistics in one study shows that about 80% of people responsible for child maltreatment are children's own parents. Imagine that, no? And I agree with this because I have been working with survivors of sexual abuse, and in the background information, we get information about who are the perpetrators, and our discovery is that 75% of the perpetrators of sexual abuse are unfortunately fathers. Okay? Fathers. No? That's for sexual abuse. No? So the abuse is not child abuse, is not only sexual. It can be physical, emotional, psychological, and of course, the sexual. So 5 types of abuse, 5 types of child abuse. Next. All right, let's take a look at trauma complexity. Trauma always happens in a developmental context. So we saw the 8 stages of life. Trauma can happen in any of the 8 stages. So usually we study and give attention to childhood trauma. But there are also teenage trauma, adult trauma, and old age trauma. I have given you the different examples already earlier. So, what do we mean by complexity? Okay. Next, please. Okay. Trauma can be complex because of the person goes through certain stages in his experience. And this is the same stage when we talk about grief and loss. First is the event. Second is the what we call aftermath, what happens after that. And then the third stage is when the process turns around and the person reaches the recovery stage. So event, aftermath, and recovery. Those are the 3 different stages of trauma. Now, in terms of specific effects, during the event, we experience shock, we experience confusion, denial, and disbelief. These are the most common reactions during the event. No, we feel surprised. Oh, what is this? What's going on? That's confusion. Oh, no, this is not true. Okay, that's denial. Okay. After that, no, later on, we experience more reactions. Fear, anxiety, shame, guilt, blame, anger, sadness, depression, and even possible suicide for some. That is why we are having this kind of talk during this suicide prevention month of September, because suicides, now one of the factors of suicide is trauma. Something happened in the past and it overwhelmed the person, and in his mind the only way for him or her, the only solution to it, to get out of such misery, is to take his or her life. Okay. Next one is recovery. Under recovery, we have acceptance, healing, growth, wisdom, and empathy. Okay. So, for those of us here who might have gone through a traumatic experience, you would be able to maybe identify yourself where you are now. Okay, perhaps the incident had happened a couple of years ago, but you are still in shock or you are still in denial. No, you have not yet confronted it. You have not yet talked about it. Okay. Now, there are some words that are in red here. Shock, denial, anger, depression, and acceptance. That's 5 words. Those are the same words in the grief and loss process. Okay? But in trauma, there are more. See? Okay. So, you might say, oh, I think I am in the aftermath. I am still experiencing guilt about what happened. Meaning to say, you have not yet resolved it. Okay. So we will talk about the next stage later on in my presentation. Now, so you would know that you have, in a way, somehow recovered from it because you have accepted it. And you have found some kind of healing. You have found some ways to deal with what happened. And whenever the memory comes back, or the flashback or the nightmare, you have already developed skills in managing those post-trauma stress reactions. Okay, so you are in that stage already, no? And you have improved your daily functioning. You have found happiness in some ways, and in a way, you have grown. No, you have grown stronger. You develop a lot of wisdom, and you can feel empathy for other people to an extent that you would want to help them already if you choose to do so. No? Right. Next, please. So, post-traumatic stress disorder, no, is an aftermath of trauma. It is a psychological disorder. It occurs in people who have experienced or witnessed a traumatic event such as a natural disaster, a serious accident, a terrorist act, combat, or rape, or who have been threatened with death, sexual violence, or serious injury. So, PTSD is a diagnosis, no, made by a mental health professional, usually a psychiatrist, a clinical or counseling psychologist, because they had been trained to diagnose based on the symptoms and other factors as well. So the severity may be mild, moderate, or severe. No? So the first question to answer is there post-traumatic stress disorder? The second question, so it's answered by yes or no. The second question to answer is, how severe is it? So some may just be mild, others might be moderate, others might really be severe, that really needs more attention. So PTSD also is the other characteristics. No, how would you might say, so how do I know that I have PTSD? Okay. One is that the symptoms that you are experiencing or have observed in yourself, okay, they have been there for more than a month already, no? So then that is one way to know. Others, no? Okay, so the symptoms affect daily functioning. Example, your basic functions of eating, sleeping, hygiene or self-care, your work, it affects your work, your studies, family life, the way you spend your time for recreation, social life, and spiritual life. No, you don't like to go out anymore. You've lost faith in God, things like that. So you cannot concentrate in your work. The grades, your grades go down. Okay, you have marital conflict, things like that. Break up in marriages. So it affects your daily functioning. The third is the symptoms develop within 3 months of the trauma. Okay, after the trauma, 3 months, within 3 months, they come out now, or they may appear later, and then the symptoms persist for months and sometimes years, perhaps because the person had still denied it, does not want to talk about it, does not want to seek help. So the longer it takes, to recover. Okay, the person is not ready yet. Okay, so we respect that. No? Okay. PTSD often occurs with other related conditions as well, not just PTSD. There may be depression, there may be substance abuse such as alcoholism or drug addiction, memory problems, okay, because your mind gets distracted by the memories, by the incident. So sometimes you forget many things, and other physical and mental health problems as well. So that's why it's PTSD is kind of complex, no? It's not easy, but it is treatable. So signs and symptoms of PTSD, there are generally four. Okay. Intrusion, avoidance, negative thoughts and emotions, arousal, and reactivity. So quickly, I'm going to mention the examples of intrusion, thoughts and memories of the event, um, distressing dreams and nightmares, vivid flashbacks, reliving the experience as if you see it before your eyes happening again. Then the next is avoidance. So the person avoids reminders. We call this triggers. These are people, places, activities, or objects and situations that makes you recall what happened. You also avoid thinking about the traumatic events or event. So the person distracts himself, finds other things to do. So it helps at the moment, for the moment. The person avoids also talking about what happened or how they feel about it. So perhaps in a way, like I said earlier, they're not ready. The person is not ready to talk about it, which you cannot force him or her, and you cannot judge. No? When helping a traumatized person, avoid judging. Okay, because it's not a definition of who he is, okay, or who she is. Next, negative thoughts and emotions. No, so the feelings and the thought patterns are unpleasant. Okay. One alteration or change in the thinking process is forgetfulness regarding the important part of the event. So when a survivor gets what you call that, interviewed, for example, by the police or by the doctor, it is expected or it is normal if he or she has forgotten something. No, parang nag-freeze yung isang part ng brain niya, no, in the hippocampus in a way. Distorted beliefs about oneself or others also. This is common, no? Negative beliefs, sometimes irrational belief, such as I am bad, no one can be trusted, it was my fault, no? This is common among sexually abused girls. They feel that they are to be blamed, or the perpetrator or her family blames her. Kasi ganito ka, kasi ganyan, etc. No? So, the child feels terrible, victimized for the second time, not only by the perpetrator, but the reactions believed happening. Let me continue. So in terms of negative emotions, there is ongoing fear, horror, anger, guilt, or shame. Also depression and anxiety. Then in terms of arousal and reactivity, you will notice the person becomes very irritable and having angry outbursts. So it affects the emotions. the short patience of the person. Next, behaving recklessly or in a self-destructive way. So there are a number, no, there are many that I have observed uh, that they have self-harming behaviors, like wrist slashing, hitting oneself, okay, or self-destructive behaviors because they hate themselves. They feel that they are not good enough. They're not worth anything. So might as well do, the anger is turned inside. Being overly watchful of one's surroundings in a suspecting way because there is fear, okay, of the perpetrator or of other people, being easily startled, no, nerviosa, no, that's one. Problems concentrating or sleeping, that is why work and studies are affected also. Okay, sleeping, no, insomnia. All right, so what to do? Okay, if we need to get help, if we have undergone a traumatic event. It says here, if you never heal from what hurt you, then you will bleed on people who did not cut you. No? Okay. I remember reading a book on confessions of an abusive husband. Okay. He abused his wife physically, emotionally, sexually, psychologically. And then the wife divorced him, filed a case also of wife battering. And so the judge gave the sentence to him, and he was required to go through therapy. And in his book, he revealed that he was also abused before by his father. Okay, physically, violently abused. And so he did not get therapy for that during that time. So he became an abusive husband. Okay, so his marriage suffered. So how do we heal? One way to heal is to find the sources of strength and resiliency. Each one of us, we are resilient inside already. But how can we develop that more? First is, one source is your own self. We have to believe in our own capacity. One of the things that I do during the early or initial interview with my clients, I ask them for their best hopes. After they have shared their story to me, I ask them, what's your best hope for coming to see me? Okay. So they verbalize that, and that becomes our direction for counseling. What you are thankful for, be grateful for the blessings, because despite the trauma that you experience, you will find that there are many things that you can be grateful for. Also, your dreams for your future, your plans, believe in them. You can still do that. Then, the second source, very, very important, is faith in our Creator, faith in a higher power. And so people who believe in the power of prayer, it may be vocal prayer, formula prayer, or a silent prayer. Silent prayer meaning to say you just sit, no, pahimunong lang, sit still, and be in the presence of God. Okay, that is silent prayer. It's like having a conversation, listening to God, speaking to you. Perhaps not in words, but perhaps you feel something, His presence. No? Okay? So it's different from one person to another. Next, the third source of strength is, of course, our support system. Okay, we are blessed here in the Philippines because we are a close-knit family. We love to socialize with our friends, spend time with them. It may be personally or it may be by Zoom or the social media, no, virtual meetings, things like that. So your support system are the people who believe in you, your family, friends, your teachers, religious persons, whom you could talk to, whom you trust, and who love you. Fourth, and of course, the professionals, no? That's us, no? Trained in crisis and psychotrauma. We have counselors, we have psychologists, and of course, psychiatrists. So these are the mental health professionals working with trauma, doing trauma work. Now, you might ask, so Miss, what are the things that are done, no, for trauma survivors? Okay, so we have what we call therapeutic interventions for trauma. Next, please. Okay, one may be medications. Not always, no, not everybody. Okay, what are medications for? Well, healing of the brain and the nervous system, because trauma affects the brain. It affects brain activity. Okay, it affects our biochemical system physiologically. So we may have, you may be given anti-anxiety to help you keep calm. You may be given antipsychosis to get rid of disturbing visions or voices. In technical terms, we call that hallucinations. You may be given mood stabilizers to stabilize your emotions, sedatives for sleeping, and perhaps mineral supplements at times. Okay, there are I know there are doctors in the Western medicine who are more on mineral supplements rather than psychotropic medications. Next is psychotherapy. So for me, psychotherapy means healing of the mind. Okay, medications is healing of the brain. Psychotherapy is healing of the mind. What's in the mind? Our thoughts, images, cognitions or beliefs, emotions, and bodily sensations. Because the mind affects the body. They are connected, and the body affects the mind as well. So in short, we call this TICES, no? TICES. Thoughts, images, cognitions, emotions, and bodily sensations. Okay, next. Okay, so under psychotherapy, it depends on the therapist if he or she has training on trauma-informed cognitive behavior therapy, no, TICBT. Some of you may be familiar with CBT. We also have eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, or EMDR. This is to develop more adaptive information, no, in your mind or in yourself, to change from negative to positive. So it's like a rebalancing of the mind, eye movement, no, because the eyes are connected to the brain. Okay, so it's a rebalancing eye movement. Next, we have also stress debriefing that we had been doing for traumatized groups, no. This is the one that helped me a lot to overcome my trauma from the Mount Pinatubo. We were debriefed, and we were trained how to debrief, and so we debriefed others who survived the volcanic eruption and other calamities, floods, earthquakes, landslides, what else? Accidents, crimes, killings, things like that, in which many people, not just one or two, but many people, whole school, a whole community, okay, have been subjected to stress debriefing. And of course, very, very important, no, self-help therapies, because these are the things that you can do to help yourself, not just the professionals, no, not the professional, but this is the one that you do to help yourself. It may include, no, not all of this, but if maybe some of you are doing this already: meditation, yoga, silent prayer, music, art, exercise, sports. We call this body-based therapies. No, your body is the one you do it, you act on it. No, sleep hygiene, of course, for insomnia or sleeping problems. Nature therapy, going out to the nature, things like that. Because nature heals. Gardening, pet therapy, taking a vacation, being part of a support group, which is very important. Volunteering, helping others. Okay, when you help others, you also help yourself. Lifestyle change, no, getting rid of addictions through rehabilitation programs, spiritual new renewal, self-education, like attending webinars like this, no, to inform yourself. Okay, so we will look at a short video, no. We will focus now a little bit on COVID-19 and trauma, because this is what we are going through nowadays. Okay, so
right now, this is a very stressful time for everyone in a variety of ways due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And it can even be more so than stress, a traumatic experience. We're all facing quite a bit of uncertainty and fear. There can be grief and loss. We need to consider some of the mental health conditions that can arise following a trauma or in the midst of a trauma. So those primary reactions would be acute stress disorder and post-traumatic stress disorder. Acute stress disorder happens usually within the first month of the trauma, and then after about a month, those same symptoms become post-traumatic stress disorder. There are particular groups that we want to be aware of at this time that are of higher risk. So we're really being mindful of COVID-19 survivors, people that work in healthcare positions or other essential workers who are consistently exposed, people that work in long-term care facilities or nursing homes. Here are some warning signs that you may be experiencing an acute stress reaction or post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms. You are avoiding situations or places or people that remind you of the traumatic event. They may also have nightmares or distressing dreams, or even flashbacks where you feel like the event is happening again. Changes in mood and cognition. You may be more quick to frustration or irritability. The first thing to do is to be aware of your emotions, to label what you're feeling, to identify that it's fear, that it's sadness. Additionally, it's really important that we take care of our bodies right now. So this is everything from eating regular meals, trying to maintain a regular sleep routine, regular exercise and getting outside. Also, we want to connect with other people. The social support that we receive from other people are protective factors against PTSD. So we are all very resilient in the face of profound loss or stress. And not everyone who goes through a trauma or a traumatic experience will develop PTSD. But we need to be aware that having PTSD is not a weakness and it is treatable.
So that's a short video, but the speaker has mentioned and reiterated also some of the things that I have mentioned earlier. Okay, so it's very important, especially nowadays, that we are going through this pandemic, and it can be traumatic for many, especially those who got really sick, got hospitalized, and thank God they were able to heal. But then the experience left a heavy and deep impact on them, no, the aftermath. Also for families who have lost so suddenly and so unexpectedly, and without any preparation, not being able to see the loved one for the last time, not being able to be there, and even just to speak, no, to take care of the person during the final moments. And of course, the health workers, what they are experiencing is chronic trauma for the field workers, because for the health workers, frontliners, I mean, because it is repeated. Okay. So they're experiencing what we call job burnout. So they're very vulnerable to that. Okay. Parents also, may be experiencing burnout because they have to work, and at the same time they have to take care of their children's schooling at home. So it's very, very stressful. So afterwards, after the event, okay, even during the event, what is going on now, we have to help them. Now, so I will share with you a couple of healing metaphors that I have used to help ourselves. I use this for those who feel worthless after a trauma incident, and they feel that they are of no value, especially if they have had interpersonal trauma. They have been devaluated. They feel that they are useless, and so sometimes they have negative thoughts of hurting themselves or dying because they feel they have no more hope. They will not be accepted anymore. Okay. So healing metaphor number 1. Okay. Next, please. There. Okay. So this is an exercise, no? So you might want to respond in the chat, or you may, I don't know if you can unmute yourself if you want to answer. So this is participatory. Okay. So we are showing you 100 pesos, our Philippine currency, because I see that we have participants from outside the country. That is good. Okay, so this is 100 pesos. So if I ask you, what do you notice about this? You might say, oh, it's it's kind of new somewhat, no? Right? So it is, in Ilonggo we call hipid, no? Hipid. Right? So it's clean, okay? Relatively new. All right. Now, here's what I will do. Okay. All right. Here's what happened to 100 pesos. Right. Now, if I ask you, how much is this? No? It's still 100 pesos, right? Okay. It is crumpled, but it's still 100 pesos. Okay. And if I ask you, can you still use it? The answer is, of course, yes. Can you still buy the things that you used to buy for 100 pesos and using this crumpled 100 pesos now? And you would say, yes, of course. All right. So the value of this bill is not diminished by the crumpling. All right. It's the same with trauma. When a woman feels experience sexual abuse, or a person experience dehumanization, he or she feels worthless, lower value, unworthy. Okay. But always remember, your trauma doesn't define you. You are still you. Okay. And you have value as a human being. Okay, and you can, you call that, do this again, lessen the creases, flatten it out, and it's still 100 pesos. Okay, so that when I do this, the client, the person smiles with a big smile. Oh yes, that's true. Yes, yes, yes. I am still worthy. I still have my dreams. Okay. Okay, so that is one, what I call healing metaphor. Next one, please. The second healing metaphor that I use is the kintsugi. Okay, what is a kintsugi? A kintsugi is a Japanese art involving repairing of broken bowls or pots. Okay, it's an art. For us, usually when a bowl that we use at home gets broken into different pieces, usually we would just sweep it together and then throw it away. No, so that's what I ask my client. When you have a bowl and it gets broken, what do you do? And they would say, "Oh, I throw it away." Why? Oh, because it's broken already. And they would say, "It's useless. I cannot use it anymore." I said, "Well, in Japan, they don't throw broken bowls. They put them together. How do they do that? Why is it called an art? This is what kintsugi looks like." Next, please. Okay, this is a kintsugi. See? Okay. It is repaired or mended using gold. Sometimes they would use another kind of mineral to put it back together. Then I asked the client, "What do you think of this?" And they would say, "Oh, it's beautiful." Then I ask, "Can you still use it?" "Oh yeah, I can still use it." "Is it still a bowl?" "Yes." "Is it still the same as before?" I would say, "Oh no, it's different now. But it's still, there is still purpose, there is still use for it. And it looks even more beautiful." I said, "Exactly." And I said, kintsugi bowls are more valuable because of the gold. So I asked the client, "What is your gold? What makes you, what healed you? What put you back together again? What keeps you strong together again?" They would say, "Oh, my family, God, my friend." And sometimes they might, they might remember me. They might say, "You." So that is healing for them. And I said, "Can you compare it to yourself?" No? So you have to relate it to them. Can you compare it? Can you relate it to them? To this? Can you see yourself as a kintsugi? And they would say, "Oh yes." And then they would have a very nice smile on their face. "I am kintsugi. I have been broken, but I am back together. No? I'm back together, stronger, more beautiful." I said, "What makes you beautiful now? What makes you?" "Oh," I said, "because," and they would say, "Because I learned so much, no? And I discovered so much about myself." And then they would say, "I'm thankful for what I have gone through. I've learned so much." And now one client had told me, because she was a survivor of incest, no, in her family, and she's around late 30s now, and she went to therapy because she was having a hard time in her job, and her boss was really concerned about her because she was showing signs and they didn't know what was going on inside her. And she said, now I want to help others. Okay, so that is empathy. No? All right. So with that, I would like to show two other images here. A kintsugi. From this, you can also be this. See? Yeah. From brokenness to beauty. Okay, so with that, I would like to share my parting words to you all. The more healthy relationships a child has, the more likely he will be to recover from trauma and thrive. Relationships are the agents of change, and the most powerful therapy is human love. I have met a lot of broken people, but what really healed them is love. And finally, to relate trauma to our life, to the development, to our human development, trauma is a fact of life. It does not, however, have to be a life sentence. Okay, so that's from Peter A. Levin. There is hope for healing for everybody. So with that, thank you so much for being here, and maybe we can answer some questions.
All right. Thank you so much, Ma'am Becky, for that very enriching topic. So they said, I was broken, but I am now a new creation. The old has gone and the new has come. Right? That's so nice.
True. It's
I
true.
love Kintsugi. So, all right. We have come now to the open forum portion, and we will now be entertaining questions from our online participants. So now we have question number one. As a parent, how do we ensure that we are responding correctly to every stage of our children's life? Very nice question.
Yeah. Thank you for that question. Well, I had given you the different tasks for each stage, no? Okay, so for the first stage, okay, you will know that you have responded correctly if you have answered to the needs of your baby, so that what he had hoped for would be given to him. So do not neglect, no? Please don't abandon your babies. Okay. Well, of course, if there are really big reasons why you need to, like for example, you have to work abroad, please make sure that you talk to the caregiver, to whoever will be the what you call that, the surrogate mother. You know, that the needs of the baby would be answered properly. And then if the person develops security, no, sense of security, confidence, independence, no, all those positive traits that I have mentioned, then you would know that you have responded correctly, no. 2 times that my own daughter has feedback to me, no, given me feedback. When she was 6 years old, she said to me, "Mama, you really love us." No, that's what she said. And I was surprised. No, I said, "Oh, what made you say that?" No, well, for us counselors and psychologists, we never ask the question why. No, so instead of asking her why, I asked her, "What made you say that?" No, and she said, "Because you cook the things that we love eating, because I like to bake, pastry and pasta for them. They like that. And a 6-year-old child, their concern is their stomach. Okay. If you give them what they like to eat, but not too much, not too much. You balance it, otherwise they will become obese. All right. So you really have to. Education is really important. So that's the first one. Okay, she said, because you cook for us. So their definition of love, through food. Okay, the basic need. Now, when she turned 16, she went to another city, to another province, across the mountain, okay, in the oriental part of our island. She went to school there, okay, because she wanted to take up also psychology, and that's where I graduated. No, so I supported her for her decision, but I did not push her. And then I helped her to adjust, to to facilitate her enrollment, looking for an apartment, dormitory for her. Okay, and she was 16 years old. She was our eldest. And then we went, I think, 2 or 3 times back and forth by bus. Okay, and that's like what, 7 or 8 hours away, no? Okay, so on our last trip, and then I will leave her there and I will come back here to Bacolod. On the bus, she said the same. She remarked the same thing that she said to me 10 years before. Of course, she had forgotten that. No, she said, "Mama, you really love us." And then I said, "Oh, what made you say that?" And then she said, "Because you are letting me go."
Wow.
See? No? 16 years old. That's adolescent, no?
Yes.
They have to be self-reliant. They have to have their freedom. And I trusted her. So I let her go. Okay? And so I supported her. Okay? So I said, yes, you are right. So a teenager, her concept of love is not anymore food. Her concept of love is freedom. And you give, I gave it to her. My husband and I, we allowed her, we supported her. Okay, so that's my answer to the question. How do we ensure that we are responding correctly to every stage of our children's? Every stage has a need. Every stage has a crisis to resolve. So you respond to that. You have to know what are you have to know what are their needs so you can respond. And then you will get feedback from them. Sometimes you will get feedback from other people. Then that is your reassurance. Oh, okay, so I have raised my children properly. Now, I am not perfect. And my children are not perfect. I made mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes before when I was still a new mother, even if I graduated psychology. No? When you lose your patience with your children, all your psychology will
be thrown out of the window.
will fly out of the window and the door and everything.
Yes.
And so we're not perfect.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much, Ma'am Beck, for that answer. And now we go to question number 2. For teenagers, how do we guide them in building a strong sense of identity? And how do we help them in the role, confusion, and peer pressure? Wow.
Oh, yeah. Very, very difficult question to answer, but I will try my best. Again, I will use my own experience. Okay, teenagers. All right, my second daughter, and she was in high school. She came home crying. Okay, second year high school, and she told. I was surprised when she came out. I said, "Oh, what happened?" She said, "Mama, I feel bad because my classmate told me, Ilian, you are bigaon." Now, that word is a bad word in Ilonggo, meaning to say you're flirt, not a good lady, things like that. Oh, she was crying really. And I said, so I hugged her, let her cry. And then we talked. I told her, okay, you drink water. And then afterwards we talked. And I said, she was devastated. She looked like she was devastated. She was told that bad girl, not that she was a bad girl. So how can she have a strong sense of identity now? Okay. Now, I had a choice. One is I would go to school, look for that girl, and fight her, Oh, but that is not right. So I just talked to my daughter. I said, okay, how do you feel? How did you feel about that? She said, of course, it feel very terrible. And I said, okay. Again, I did not ask the question, why? Huh? I said, I asked her, did you ask your classmate? Because she was confused. Did you ask your classmate what made her say that? And she said, no, I did not want to talk to her anymore. That's why I came home early. I said, all right, I will ask you a question. Yan, is that true? And she said, what do you mean? I said, is that true that you are bigaon? And she said, what? Of course not. I am not. I said, very good. I'm glad you know who you really are. And I said, I also believe that you are not bigaon. You are very artistic. You are very creative, but you are not bigaon. She said, yes, I am not. And I asked her, so what are you? I said, well, she said, I am a proper girl, I know my place. Okay. And she said, I behave properly as you have taught me. I may be artistic, I may be creative, but I'm not bigaon. I said, I'm glad that you are not. Okay, I said, and then she said, why did she say that? And I said, well, I don't know. Maybe you can ask her tomorrow. You want to ask her? And then she said, no, I don't want to anymore. I said, what is it that makes you say you don't want to ask her? Because she said, the important thing, Mama, is I know who I am. Yan. Strong sense of identity. Who are you? Okay, so they have to think. You have to help them. You have to facilitate that. No, you have a strong sense of identity. So I think listening, processing the child, okay, just
really
keeping
helps them.
calm. Yeah.
If you are with them and you are helping them to build that strong sense of identity. Yeah. So question number 3, Ma'am Beck, we go to question number 3 now. As a parent, how do we deal with children who are rebellious? Well, this is quite a interesting question. So probably because right now a lot of our students or a lot of our children are now in gadgets, or they face gadgets and focus more on the gadgets, and they tend to neglect whatever their parents advices or suggestion. Or so how can we deal with that kind of children, Ma'am Beck?
Yeah. Well, one thing that we have to know is that we have to understand that it is a normal stage. No, do not panic. Right. First of all, is for you, to just keep calm and do not panic. But you have to be firm. You have to be firm, and you have to explain why there is a rule such as that. Okay. No, and that you have to express where you are coming from, that you are concerned, you are concerned, and you don't want them to hurt themselves, do not be madramatic. Okay, oftentimes madrama tayo na mga parents. We try to manipulate their emotions, their obedience, by making them feel guilty also, okay. So afterwards, when they would still, what you call that, despite all your teachings, but they will still follow it. No, they will follow what they had done. There is always consequence to what they do. Okay? Always remember that, dear parents, for every action, there is always a consequence. So no, even if you have done your best to make pangaral, to listen to them, understand them, and you think that they are going to follow you already, but they are going to really, at the, kasi you cannot always watch them, Now, just trust that when the consequence happens to them, you are still there. Not blaming them, no? Not blaming them, but helping them. Parang salo mo sila, no? They will cry. They will run back to you. Don't worry. They will run back to you. Okay? My older brother before, he ran away from home because our mother was very strict. My mother was really pained, no? After 1 week, he came back home. Why? Because he cannot support himself. And he was very sorry. He realized, and our mother did not reject him. He was welcomed home. So my own children had been rebellious also. Sometimes we would have arguments and like that. What I would do, I would just step back.
Yeah. Okay, so that's part of the life stages as well, that they go through that stage.
Yeah.
So question number 4 here: during this pandemic, teenagers are experiencing very difficult situation, being alone and can only see their friends online. Some are already undergoing depression. Any coping strategies that you can offer or suggest?
I had given the suggestions, but I will just repeat some of them. No, okay. When a person feels depressed, he or she needs what we call connection. Okay, because depression is feeling of being isolated, feeling sad, parang, my friends, where are they? And so, okay. So, the online get together, okay, can help, talking with them. And also we have mental health professionals, our group, who are available for online virtual counseling. So you can refer them. We have volunteers. We also have professionals who are available, like for us in our clinic. We are there also to help, because if it is depression, that is a clinical situation already. It's a clinical condition, so you would need a professional, but help them along with maybe activities at home together, doing stuff together with them, meaningful activities at home. Okay.
All right. Okay, so let's now proceed with the question number 5. How to encourage children who are in young adulthood stage to be more responsible without hurting them?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've been often what you call that, asked about that during our parenting seminars. Okay. You have to start earlier. Okay, if they are in the young adulthood and they show irresponsibility as much as possible. If you still have younger children, start early with them. Okay, how do you make children responsible? Give them responsibility.
Yes.
And that's always my answer. Give them responsibility, even if they are young adult already. So give them responsibility. Do not be a super mom or super dad that you will handle everything. Otherwise, they are going to be dependent on you. They don't know, they don't have any skills already. So give them assignments at home, washing dishes, maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday, things like that. Let them fix their own bed. That's very important. Let them fix their own cabinets, their own, study table. Help them if you can, but it's basically their responsibility. Give them
Yeah.
responsibility, then they will be responsible.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much, Ma'am Beck. So actually, we still have a lot of questions. Right now, we are in question number 6. How high can childhood trauma cause adult a mental health issues? Because adult,
Number six.
yeah, this is. I thought trauma is normal of life. It's normal part of life. Yeah, this is from our YouTube channel. This
Could
one
you
is
repeat?
from
Could you
Linda.
repeat the question? I cannot see the question here.
Yeah, how can childhood trauma cause adult mental health issues?
Okay. Yeah. Well, they are the, what you call this, the origin. No? Okay. Childhood trauma is usually the origin of adult mental health issues. Okay. The childhood trauma affected the child's mind, emotions, and ways of thinking. Okay, so if a child who is helpless, still dependent on others, suddenly becomes abandoned or abused or neglected, he or she is going to develop negative thoughts and emotions and ways of thinking, patterns of thinking about himself, which the person is going to bring up to adulthood. So it may come out as depression, anxiety, or other personality problems. Example, abuse. No, when a child is abused, the resulting emotion is anger. When that anger is not expressed properly, that is going to turn into it will express itself in adulthood. So that person is going to be abusive because that's what he learned, no? Or else he is going to displace it on others. Okay? No? So he will make other people feel miserable also because of displaced anger. No? So become abusive. That's a mental health issue in adulthood.
So childhood trauma can really manifest during the adult stage, right? So question number
Even in the it will manifest in the childhood, teenage, adulthood, and old age if it is not resolved.
treated or
Yeah, kasi earlier I said within 3 months there will be symptoms. Sometimes it will come out later, no?
Okay, so next question from Shining from our Facebook viewer. What are the ways to handle societal clients?
Okay. One is to talk with that person, to listen to that person, and to know that you are there to listen and to offer help. Okay, and that was the talk of our speaker last time, no? Okay. And
Ma'am Jet.
Ma'am Jet, and she mentioned that it's very important not to be judgmental.
Yes. Bawal
Okay.
judgmental.
Bawal judgmental. And to express to the person how you would feel if he or she is going to commit it, no? And para ma-realize niya na there are people who care, and that his or her action is going to have also consequences to other people, no? And how it will affect other people, and to let the person know that there are other solutions.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
So,
refer to the professional who know how to handle that and how to resolve that, because suicide is a symptom of a deeper problem. It's like an
mhm.
iceberg. It's like an iceberg. No, the tip of the iceberg are all the symptoms, suicide attempts, ideations, things like that. But deeper, there are issues. So when those deeper issues, the roots are resolved through those therapeutic interventions that I mentioned, those suicide ideations and attempts are going to be resolved as well.
Yeah. So if you know someone who has suicidal tendencies,
Mm-mm.
please ask them to seek professional help.
Yeah. We
Okay,
have
so next,
we have helplines online, helpline hotlines, numbers that was given also last time. I think
yes,
NOLITC has information, the
yes.
numbers and the people who can be
Mhm.
contacted. No, we have
Mhm.
that.
Yes, they can also reach out to us, or they can check out our last webinar with Ma'am Rose Octaviano. Okay,
Yeah.
our next question is from Dr. Carlitos Orola of VMA and the president of Atino. Any technique to discourage children or students not to stay so much time on tablet or gadgets? It's
Yeah.
very difficult to implement. Good afternoon,
Oh
Dr.
yeah,
Nancy.
that's true. Okay.
Yes,
One thing I do, very important, is role modeling. Like for
mm,
example, when we eat, no,
yes,
um, they
correct.
eat, they have their gadget. It's very tempting also for adults.
True.
Yeah, not just them, but ourselves
Yes.
also, no. So we have to start with ourselves. So I see to it that I really put aside
Mhm.
my what you call that, my gadget, no. And that's our rule in
Yes.
the mealtime, no gadget. Okay.
Yes. True.
Sometimes there are mga ano also, not always, but then you have to be conscious of it and be firm, no, be consistent also.
Mhm.
And then remind them, no, how many hours are you spending there now, no? Okay, so kind
Mhm.
of monitor once in a while, once in a while also, no. Okay, and then I remind them also about the effect on their eyes.
Yes.
No, I have a doctor friend, an eye
Mhm.
specialist, who is saying, who told me the other night, Becky, myopia is on the rise. No,
Mhm.
problem with vision, and they're very concerned about that also. No, so reminders the children, they have to know how to set time limits and explain to them, because if they
Mhm.
lose their vision, you know that is
Yes.
going to be permanent. Yes, it
Yes.
is very difficult to
Mhm.
to to recommend. I agree, especially now that they cannot go out.
But
So
somehow, I guess, as parents, we also need to give them something physical or divert
physical,
their attention to
yeah,
something else.
divert attention.
Yeah.
For me, I do is because I said I like baking. I invite my
Mhm.
my daughter here at home, no, because there are two of them left, and one is working most of the time outside. But I have one student pa here at home, no,
Mhm.
fourth year college. I invite her to bake with me,
Yes.
baking.
That's.
Or
Mhm.
I ask her, can you do the pasta tomorrow?
Mhm.
Okay, so para she would get out of her bed and put
Yeah,
me
and
on
that's a
the
good,
gadget.
actually, that's a good diversion, and at the same time,
Diba?
good bonding as a family or
Bonding.
as parents and children, right?
Bonding. So
Yeah.
whatever your interest, no, engage your
Mhm.
children also to do it
Yes,
with. It's
correct.
bonding, and
Mhm.
that so that they would know also that you are really, monitoring them, and hindi ka nagpapabaya. You do
Yes.
not neglect.
Mm. Okay, that leads us to our next question. Should we, parents, check the browsing history of our children's gadgets?
I don't do that, and I
Mhm. Yeah.
think we should not do that. you know,
Privacy.
privacy.
You have.
Again, again, you know, I guess my own principle is for every action there is a consequence.
Yes. So,
So oftentimes they will learn more from the consequence. But just be aware, be alert, but not panic, not kalma lang, calm
yeah.
parenting. Pero you're there, you know. There was one person who said before, parenting is like being a drone, you know, hovering
Right.
like a helicopter or something like that. In a way siguro, but not so much.
Yeah. Just, I guess, guidance, but not to the point that you're invading their privacy.
Yeah. You have to have a life of your own too.
Yes. And give them at least also a life.
Yeah.
And we come now to the last question for this afternoon. How can childhood trauma and abuse cause personality disorder like narcissism? From Adam, from in England. Adam.
Ay, wow. Hello, Sir Adam. Yes. Well, this is just my own opinion. It's not based on my studies, or I have not. I probably I still have to research on that. So I would just offer my own opinion. No, okay. Now, first of all, not all childhood trauma and abuse can result to narcissism. Okay, well, for some of our audience who might not be familiar with narcissism, narcissism is a disorder in personality in which the person loves his own self too much. No, okay. From the word narcissus. Narcissus is a Greek personality in the old times who would always look at himself in the mirror and would praise himself so much. And another word for self-centered, very self-centered person to the extreme. No? Okay, so how can it happen, no, from childhood trauma and abuse to personality disorder like narcissism? My own theory is that the trauma and the trauma because of probably abuse may have caused the person to lose value about himself. And so the narcissism tendency is like a coping, a compensation for that dynamic or for that process. No, you know, we have what I would call a survival instinct. No, if we fall down, we do our best to get up. Okay, our body is programmed, is designed to heal itself. If we have a small cut, in a few days it will heal. All right. If we have stomach ache, we would take something to relieve ourselves of that pain. Okay, so the trauma has caused pain, so the person has to heal himself, get himself back together again. Okay, and because the trauma is so extreme, the compensatory or the coping mechanism would also be extreme as well to get that person back, to regain his dignity and his what you call this, his good self-image. However, it becomes extreme already, no? So it turns into a disorder, a narcissistic. Okay, all of us have love of ourselves. Why? Because we were born that way. We were born from love. So there is love already from us, no? In us, okay, for our own self. Self-care is a kind of self-love, no? But not too much, to the extent of narcissism that you become too self-centered, that you don't care about the others already, no? Yes. So it other people suffer already because of the narcissistic disorder. So that's my own theory. No, it's a coping, it's a compensatory mechanism because of the trauma and the abuse. But it swung, no, it swung to the extreme. So it becomes a disorder.
Yes,
I
okay. Thank you so much, Ma'am Becky. Thank you so much for your
welcome.
time. And we really learned a lot from you. And thank you for this very enriching topic.
Thank
So
you for the
that's it.
opportunity.
Okay, any parting words?
Okay, I'd like to thank first of all NOLITC for organizing this and for inviting me again. And I would like to thank our audience, both here in our part of the world, as well as those outside who took time to be with us. And as we grow through life, okay, it's a normal part of our development that changes happen not only in our body but also in our personality, in our thought processes, and as one author has said, normal trauma is a normal part of life. Normal because everybody goes through it. However, it is abnormal because it is not the usual kind of events. Okay, so our reactions are normal reactions to an abnormal event. We have to remember that always. Okay, and we suffer, we have symptoms because those are normal effects. Okay, the most important thing is to believe that there is healing and that the developmental stages can still continue, no. It is how we handle our trauma, it is how we handle our situation, difficult as it may be, right, especially now. And the more that we have to take care of ourselves especially, and take care of our loved ones, no. And I think together, uh, in our family, our friends, we can weather through this, right? And come up whole, maybe broken in some ways, but nevertheless, still beautiful inside and outside to help others and to serve one another. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Becky. That was very inspiring. So I like the quote that was presented by Ma'am Becky. Trauma is a fact of life because everyone has experienced trauma at some point in our lives, and some of those traumatic experiences molded us into what we are today. However, let us keep in mind that trauma is not a life sentence. There is a way to heal. First is to find strength and resiliency from within. Believe in yourself and your dreams. Second, keep the faith. Surrender everything to the Lord, as the Bible says. The Lord will not leave you nor forsake you. And he assured us in Jeremiah chapter 33, verse 3, when he said that, call to me and I will answer you and tell you unsearchable things, or great and unsearchable things you do not know. That is quite an assurance, right? So third is our support system. We have a close-knit family, friends, and colleagues that we can rely on to and when the going gets rough. So lastly, seek professional help. And it is not something to be ashamed of, but something that can truly help you. Before I end, I hope that we will all show compassion and treat others with kindness because we don't know that what they are going through, and we don't want to be the trigger factor for them to do the things that we will regret later. So that would be all. Thank you so much. And back to you, Miss Red.
Thank you, Miss Sally. We would like to express our most profound appreciation to our expert speaker, Ma'am Rebecca Villanes, and to our moderator, Miss Sally Carmen Trio, for the superb facilitation of this webinar. Shall we give them a virtual round of applause? These discussions has made us aware, in spite of the pain, we are loved and we are worthy. Please remember that. Now, we move on to the awarding of certificate to our resource speaker. The certificate reads, Province of Negros Occidental and Negros Occidental Language and Information Technology Center would like to award Certificate of Appreciation to Ma'am Rebecca V. Lanes, Registered Guidance Counselor and Registered Psychologist, Counseling and Assessment Psychologist, for sharing her valuable expertise and commendable service extended as a resource speaker in the Life Stages and Trauma webinar, given this 20th day of September 2021 virtually. Shall we give our expert speaker, Ma'am Rebecca Lanes, a virtual round of applause? The Center is very grateful for the support of our provincial government through the Office of Governor Eugenio C. Bonglacson. And to close this virtual talk with a hopeful note, let us hear from the Provincial Gender and Development Focal Point System Action Officer, Ma'am Marijon T. Castro.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you and congratulations to all involved in the conduct of this GAD webinar. To our resource person, we truly appreciate your sharing of your time and insights in today's episode of the GAD Webinar Series 2021, organized by the Negros Occidental Language and Information Technology Center. Our participants are indeed blessed and privileged to be able to hear your inputs. NOLITC is living up to its title as one of our GAD champions, a multi-awarded institution that not only inspires but also cares for the trainees and their families and the larger community as well. By coming up with this webinar, NOLITC has indeed recognized that all issues are women's issues, that the COVID-19 pandemic will not stop us from addressing issues that matters, especially if they affect our youth, our children, who are considered our future. We thank NOLITC for providing a safe way of educating our constituents. As the action officer of the Provincial GAD Focal Point System, I join my fellow GAD advocates in telling our young Negrenses that you are important, you are loved, not only by your family, but also by your provincial government. Thank you and congratulations to all. Avance, Negrense.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Castro. We also would like to thank our virtual audience for joining us in this meaningful discussion about life stages and trauma. Special shout out to Dr. Carlitos Orola and Atino members and officers, schools division offices of San Carlos City, Cadiz City, Cabancalan City, Department of Education, and to all of you for wonderfully sharing your wonderful comments and appreciation. Thank you. Shall we send each other virtual hugs, virtual hearts, and virtual claps? Moreover, we would like to thank our active participants, of course, for tuning in up to the end of this session. I also would like to emphasize how you can get certificate for this webinar. Please provide us your evaluation through the link provided in the description box below. Do this right after the webinar ends or right now. Your email address should be typed in correctly, and be careful with the spelling of your names and your email address so it won't bounce back. The evaluation site will be open until 7 o'clock this evening. So you may do your evaluation right now, or you may scan a QR code flashed on your screens. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. This concludes our Gender and Development Webinar 2, Life Stages and Trauma. On Wednesday, September 22nd, 2021, we will have another exciting webinar about basic network security. See you using the same platform that you are currently using. You should be able to receive a link through your emails if you have registered. As we end, please watch NOLITC Gender and Development Advocacy video. So that's it, everyone. This is Red again, and I am reminding you to please stay safe and take care. NOLITC Inspire. NOLITC Cares. Avance, Negrense.